it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here with another channeled message. This is a specific message. It might resonate with you, it might not. Okay, so I'm definitely picking up on the energy of friction here in this reading. Friction between at least two people. There could be more than two people involved in this situation, in which case there's different positions on the field here. But this friction has to do with a shared space and the routines that go on in this shared space, because it is like you've got more than one person operating here in this space that relies on this space or the tools, the equipment in that space in order to go about their routines in a timely manner, in a way that, kind of works for them. This could be a domestic situation, where you've got a living situation and there's a couple living there, or roommates, or a family, and they all kind of need the washing machine at a certain time, or the sinks to be clear, the dishes done, access to the computer, different things like that. Or this could be a workplace here for some of you of varying scales, but obviously if there's a workplace, there's some kind of purpose to that workplace. They produce something or they maintain something, and this would be a workplace where there's more than one person required to do that job. So there's probably certain standards to make sure that everybody is producing the same quality of work, or and also so that you don't have people that are causing problems for other people, so that the routines all work well. It could be that all of these people kind of go through the same routine in order to accomplish that, or that you've got certain people working on one aspect, another aspect, and all of those different pieces of the puzzle need to be done in such a way that they can actually seamlessly fit together and actually produce or maintain whatever is supposed to be produced or maintained. So there's kind of layers of complexity here, maybe in certain processes, especially if this is a work environment. There could be differing levels of skill required to do different aspects of this job, but then you also have the interpersonal dynamics, and you also have the psychologies going on of every person that's involved here. So I think whatever's going on here, there's friction and there is communication that is probably hot spots, but there's different approaches to this, and this goes all the way down to like this psychological level. Now, what I'm getting regarding the friction, again, whether this is domestic or whether this is a workplace, is somebody here is overperforming and somebody here is underperforming. So if this is like between two people, I feel like you've got one person that's situated one way, like in their psychology, this is a person who's maybe very neat. They're very conscious. They're very aware of themselves and the consequences of their actions, how them doing something or not doing something in a timely manner or correctly is going to affect like the other people that are involved. This person could be very neat. They could be very responsible. They could be older or more experienced than this other person or these other people that are in this shared space here as well. So I feel like there's probably a lot of frustration. The frustration is more conscious. It's not that they're the only one experiencing frustration. There's more consciousness around frustration here for this person, and there's more of an ability to identify the root cause of that, why it's happening, what needs to occur for it to stop happening, kind of like here in the shared space. Now, there's another person here or multiple people that fall into this camp of underperforming, and there's a reason why they're underperforming. But these people could be literal children that are kind of underperforming in the space, or they could be like new hires, or just people who also share this space, again, whether it's domestic or a workplace, that just have a sloppier approach. They're much less conscious of themselves in the space and of the routines. They're not really thinking about how their actions plug into like the group, or I think they're probably the source of a lot of frustration, even if they're not meaning to be. And they kind of, because of this like lack of awareness or consciousness or training or education, they kind of end up creating more work for the other people here. So that's what's like kind of causing the frustration. And I feel like there's a need to kind of address this on a communication level, or the communication has already occurred, but it's actually flaring up the friction here, and people kind of can't figure out why. Now, I'm also hearing that there could be a third position on the field here for some of these people, which is like an authoritative position. So in a domestic situation, this could be a parent that's like dealing with their children. And if that's the case, this could be something they're noticing, that they've got one child that is maybe overly responsible, could be like very type A, is overperforming somehow, and they've got another child here that is underperforming. Could be a younger child that is just now becoming capable of taking on more of the load or doing like new, more advanced tasks or something. But like say these two kids have like a chore list, and the rule is like, listen, these are your chores. You guys have to get this done between the two of you. I don't care how you do it, because it's giving them an opportunity to like, figure out their plan or whatever. But this parent has noticed that consistently, even though the chores get done, consistently there's one child that's doing the bulk of the chores, and or doing it well, or feeling frustrated and feeling burdened. And so the parent is kind of wanting to step in for a lot of different reasons as well, like just to figure out why that's going on, because there could be some kind of like proficiency difficulty with the child that is underperforming. I also heard like some kind of attitude problem, thinking that, well, I'm too good to do this, like because I can trick you into doing all the work, that you should have to do all the work. So I feel like the parent is like that authoritative position that's kind of noticing that this is causing friction, like in their space. If this is a workplace scenario, I feel like that authoritative position could be a manager, somebody who is noticing in their team that, or they could just notice this as a facet, like they have employees that have worked there for years, and like, how do we get these kind of trainees up so that how do we get people kind of like on board? But they could just be noticing that they have two different types of people. They have one group that's overperforming. They make the same amount of money as these other people, but they're consistently more responsible, and having to clean up somebody else's mess over here on top of doing their job. So there's this noticing of that. And I feel like there's communication either between these two people and potentially also coming from this like place of authority, if that does apply in this situation. This is like not the majority of people. This is like a small group here where you do have an authority problem here in this situation, but you have a problem with a company not backing its leaders. Like these would be healthy leaders that are just holding people to normal standards, have an understanding of how things kind of need to function. We all need to function in this space, and they're not backing their like leaders to actually be able to do that, or like children are not respecting like their parents, like as people who know more like in the world. And that might actually be the root conversation that needs to happen here. Like, do you know why, your, manager wants you to make sure that you're contributing because Sarah goes home crying every night because she has to clean up your mess, or like with the kids, do you know why your mom's like asking you to do that? It's because she's trying to make sure you function when you're 20 years old, though that kind of thing might actually be an issue, because I feel like, whoever is underperforming in the space, even if this is an adult, I feel like they kind of psychologically take the position of a child where they feel oppressed. They're not looking to contribute. They're not like seeing the whole picture. And that might be for good reason. It could be because this person's new and they just don't have an understanding. They don't have an understanding. Some of these people, it's an attitude problem, and they don't feel like they need to have an understanding of like, this is a whole integrated system. We have to think about other people that are also sharing the space with us and make sure everything kind of flows smoothly. I'm also hearing that it is worth it in this situation to front load. So with like training, or education, or if this is a domestic situation where it's like the parent is actually spending a lot more time going through and making sure the routines are very well understood, and maybe spending like 2 or 3 or 4 weeks like actually going through doing all of the chores with them to make sure that they're getting into like a good habit and a good dynamic, and helping that. It's like it's worth it in this situation to front load the training, all of that in order to I'm hearing it's the preservation of mindless tasks. That's what everybody here is after, and the importance of that. It's not bad. It's not like demonizing it. The preservation of mindless tasks. But I feel like this, the people who are overly functioning in this space and the authorities in this space understand that it's worth it to front load, to have the hard conversations, to whenever a problem arises and it's going to be a repeated problem, and if it's a problem that you can solve with routines or communication, that's something that should occur. So I feel like there's somebody here that is trying to address the routine, or they're trying to have the conversation, and I do actually think in this scenario that I'm picking up on, I feel like this person's very cooperative. It's just that they know that there's these are repeated processes and repeated routines. And so it's worth it to front load. I keep hearing that. It's worth it for us to get on the same page so that we can share this space nicely. And then for the 10 years that we work together in this environment, we never have to have another conversation about it. Everything is just, all of this is going to become second nature, and it's going to be a mindless task. It will become a mindless routine. It's just going to become muscle memory. And so that's their way, that's their version of preserving a mindless task, but it needs to become mindless. It's kind of like, I'm also getting the example of, when you learn the roads around your home, it's like, the speed limit. And so you get into like autopilot kind of, but if it's 35 miles an hour around your house and your autopilot is you driving 55 miles an hour, perhaps that should not be your autopilot. It's worth front loading, paying extra attention when you first move in to build up your muscle memory and your autopilot to where it actually fits into what needs to be going on. And then is when like the mindless autopilot part kind of sets in. This person who's underperforming doesn't understand that. They want mindless tasks, but their version of that is being sloppy and being inconsiderate. And whenever someone mentions that they should bring awareness to something, they feel like a child. They feel like a child that is scolded by a parent. So this is the issue. This is a psychological issue within this person. And if this is a child, it's important that you jump on this early, that you nip this in the bud, that this person is not being victimized whenever they're asked to participate well in a social system, a social group, and a social structure. As a matter of fact, this child needs to expect that. When they go into it, they should be taught that, as a part of onboarding to society, that when you go into a situation and a space that you share with multiple people, whether it is domestic or whether it is like to do with a workplace, you should expect, and it would be great if you actually led some conversations here on, okay, how are we all going to work together in a way that's not unfair and is not overly prioritizing the individual? Because this kind of goes down to individualism for me as well, where it's like the conversation around rights and responsibilities. I always go back to that because America's such an individually driven country. It's like individualism, but we don't understand it. And when you really listen to a lot of rhetoric about how people think that they can solve our problems or like how certain systems should be run, you understand that we're kind of going after the same thing. And we want to preserve, like a lot of us do, want to preserve freedoms and like individual rights. It's just we have different approaches. Similar here, we in this group, they want to preserve mindless tasks. There's two different approaches here. And one is more mature and one is more advanced and one is pro-social. The other is obstinate, and it is for the sake of being obstinate as well. But there's not consciousness shown on this. And I feel like this is one of those frustrating situations because I feel like you've got to have the conversation before the conversation with this person. I hate to say it too. I feel like this is a person that wasn't really raised, like they weren't in a conscious way to do with participating and cooperation. This wasn't taught to them. So it's almost like you do kind of have to reparent this person a little bit and say, listen, you're in a social space. You are sharing space with other people. There's a lot of people trying to function here. So that's why we have to have a certain standard and we do things. This is why we have a process. And I'm hearing this person, somebody here, I think, is getting blamed for being like authoritarian or tyrannical. This person, I'm actually hearing they do kind of have a loose rule with it. It's like, I'm hearing things like learn the rules so you can break them properly. This person gives zero fucks if you break the rules, if you know what you're doing and if you know what you're preserving. As long as you breaking the rules doesn't mean that Sarah, who comes in after you, has to now clean up your mess before she can even start her task. This person doesn't care. So whatever's going on here, you need to hear beneath the surface that it's not a matter of, I think that's what it is. It's like, oh, well, this is like perfectionism or this is like some kind of anal retentive thing. It's really not. Whoever is underperforming here hasn't even gotten themselves to a position to experience like the freedom and like this person is very much going to get, if this is like a manager situation, this person is very, very much going to happily get off of this person's back. Like they're just doing it because this person is causing problems. Whoever's underperforming is causing actively problems and malcontent with people who are picking up their slack. And this manager and these other people who are more mature and aware, are able to see that. Like it doesn't, there's different things that could lead to people being on the more conscious, like they could just, as people, be more observant, be more aware, be more conscious whenever they're moving through a space. They could just be very pro-social and consider their actions more. Or they could have worked at this place for longer or just really know what it is that they're doing. They could have some kind of degree or specialized training in something where they just understand something more. And they don't even hold that against this person who is underperforming. But the fact that this person doesn't think that it's on them to acclimate to their new environment, that's an obstinate attitude. that's somebody putting a spoke in the wheel and dragging their feet and being a jerk. And people probably don't like this person. The manager probably doesn't like this person. And it's totally deserved because they're not cooperating. And so it's like this person needs to understand that they themselves take the position of a child, because when they bump up against a problem, it's like they just think that, oh, well, we'll just sweep it under the rug. But you shouldn't, because there's more than one person impacted. So basically it's this person being inconsiderate. They're fighting to be inconsiderate. And I don't think this person sees it that way. They are seeing it like, I just have a right to be, to do my mindless task. And everybody else agrees. It's just saying like, your mindlessness should be considerate. Like, we all want to get to a place of mindlessness, but you have to go through training and really, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's actually thinly veiled inconsideration that needs to be like nipped in the bud at the root. That's what I'm saying. You've got to have the conversation here before the conversation. I think the conversation that needs to be had, and that maybe people are trying to have with this person, is, okay, like we put this over here, and then we jump up and down 3 times, and then we put it over here. And they think that's the problem with this person. Really, they think they could have a problem with authority and just not being a cooperative person and thinking their shit don't stink. They just don't want to play nice with others. And so that's why I'm saying the conversation you have to have before that is, do you understand that when someone communicates with you and tells you that you're not doing something right, that they're not trying to attack you, they're trying to be considerate of the shared space. And I think this person, once you kind of, I don't know, some of these people could really have an attitude problem, but like others of these people, I think once you point that out, they're going to be like, oh my God, there are 15 other people that work here. Oh my gosh, like I just felt attacked, but I feel like you get what I'm saying. Like it's like, oh, it's not all about me, kind of thing. They could be like hypersensitive, or they could actually, some of these people, it's like they are hypersensitive, or they really do want to do a good job, or they struggle to allow themselves to be in a beginning stage. But that's the support that needs to come in here for this person that is like underperforming is, hey, no one's attacking you. It's just that. So, and that's really what needs to get changed here. And you should hold a firm line with this person. Nope, your psychology needs to change. The way that you approach this situation and situations like this needs to change. Your life will actually go smoother if you front load. If you address the problem in the beginning and at the root, and you get yourself in a good habit of how you relate to these kind of situations, that is actually what's going to serve you and everyone around you for the rest of your life. That's what needs to change here. So I feel like, unfortunately, it is like there's like a reparenting obligation that's being put on this like adult cohabiting situation, or this family situation, or this workplace situation. But that is kind of like the problem here, and that's what's causing there to be problems. And I do think for some of you do have authority figures who see this and are trying to address this, but might not be given the support that they need, because potentially there's incompetent management above them, or people who are not really involved in the daily activities, or just kind of don't understand the routines, and they're just not supporting. They're supporting this like kind of obstinate attitude, kind of situation. So I hope that helps. The conversation before the conversation, and there probably should be a conversation around rights and responsibilities. I think this person who is underperforming really is going to go heavy on the rights, but it's not rights, it's entitlement coming from this person. They feel entitled to this or entitled to that. And everybody else in the space is like, well, what about my rights? Like, why are you entitled to that? But it is at the expense of other people here. In this situation, it is at the expense of other people. So you don't have your rights at the expense of 15 other people, others' right. Like that's you have rights in this space, but you also have responsibilities, and you having responsibilities and living up to those responsibilities ensures that other people, their rights are not infringed. And it's this beautiful like dance. It's this a little give and a little go, and that's just going to hold true anytime people gather. Like you're going to have to do that kind of delicate dance. And this person needs initiated into that. They're just not very pro-social, to be honest. They're just overly focused on self, and they could be overly sensitive for some kind of reason here. But anyways, that's what I have for you. If that resonates, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.